We're in for a good evening when I start with a sigh. Okay, this is going to be a messy stream. Um, Bennifer, Bennifer. Okay, I've been a bit emotional about this breakup the past couple of days, honestly. I've been, affected a bit by it. And I'm watching myself while being like in my feelings a bit. I was accused of trolling about it, which was not the case. Thank you, C-Sal. I'm glad. See, I'm hurt by this, and I feel like I called into Nick about it, which was silly, I know, but I did. I don't even follow celebrities like that. I don't like the way people have been doing witchcraft against Jennifer Lopez for a while, and it's apparent to me, okay? Like, it's so obvious. And the snakes have been at Ben and Jennifer since they got together, It was happening years ago. I remember just seeing it, and you couldn't avoid seeing it. They've been this media spectacle for so long. And when they broke up, I felt like, I don't know, kind of like it was wrong. Hello to Sabrina. Hello to Caleb. Hello to delighted to be here. Excuse me, and Danny P. Trailblazers, heck yeah, Danny in the house. Yes, I'm serious. What is this comment? Wait, you're serious. Laughing emojis. Skull emoji. Sideways laughing emoji. What do you mean? I am serious. I am so serious. Like, what do you mean? Of course I'm serious. I'm like, it's not eating up my day, I'm not like devastated by it. But I am like processing it emotionally. And what I'm seeing, watching the emotions I'm having, I think is interesting, what it's provoking in me. Having too many eyes on your relationship is a bad thing. It really is. And I think at their level, it's just been something that's been very detrimental to the both of them just because of who they are. But yeah, Nick was like, "Oh no, they're getting divorced, so it isn't love." And I'm like, "Well, that doesn't mean it's not love. Love is doing the right thing. Right? What is love? It's doing the right thing." So yeah, okay, it didn't work out. They gave it another shot. It didn't work out. And now we're being like, oh, yeah, no, there was no love there. Like, there obviously was so much faith and love that they stupidly went into this thing. Okay, like, whatever. I can't even with that mentality. That's so like, sometimes the best thing for people is to let them go. Like, that is the loving thing to do. Severance is loving sometimes. There are situations where that's the case. But I don't know if that's the case. I do feel like there was like witchcraft being done against them and their happiness. There were so many people just rooting for their downfall. You know how demoralizing that must be on like just a surface level. And yeah, okay, you should ignore it, but I don't know. It's so like I felt like it was chaotic. And I'm telling you, like, I'm not somebody that's terribly into celebrities. I don't follow many of them. I don't know who half of them are, but I know who they are. And God, what is love in marriage, right? I mean, I don't like divorce, but they've already both been divorced before, and they're not exactly, they haven't been the most stable people. So maybe it's like, I don't know. And maybe they're like, I don't agree with going backwards as well. You know what I mean? Like, I get that point about it. And there's a lot of lessons we can learn from this breakup, I think. There's so many things we could learn from it, honestly. Maybe that's why everybody's talking about it. Your husband is laughing at me, Cecil. Good. I hope he's getting some of this message. We are a bit, aren't we? Of course we are. I am not, I don't let people use that against me. It's, how do you deal with a crazy person? I mean, in the right way. When you love someone, it hurts to watch them become less of what they could be. Well, that's a projection, though, isn't it, Sabrina? Less of what they can. We see things in people sometimes that they don't see in themselves. Like the way we see people is not how they see themselves. So, it's maybe it is a bit of projection, I suppose, in love. And like sometimes we put our loved ones on pedestals, but they're humans. Matthew. Yes. I cast you out in the name of Jesus. You better not pull that Calvin Spready, aka Steven. That is such a bad name, I have to say, for like your backup account. It's so long and weird. I feel like it's not going to last forever. I feel like he's going to figure out something else. Cher's true love was Sunny. Like and subscribe, indeed. I want to move on from the Bennifer topic. I feel like, have I said my piece about that? I don't know. Like, I just wish them well. That's what I wish. And I feel like divorce is sad too. So, I don't know. I'm hella Northwest. What does that mean? Do you see this? You are hella Northwest. I'm getting notifications about that perfect woman, Caitlin Clark, who everybody loves so much. Oh, did you hear that? Do you get my point, Sunny? What did you think about my points? I don't know. Sometimes these calls I make. But like people were accusing me of trolling and I totally was not. Like I meant that. I think I get really genuine sometimes and that's when people think I'm trolling. And then when I'm trolling, they think I'm being genuine. But that's the life of a troll. I bet. I guess, when you let that into your life, that's an issue that you have to deal with. Yeah, you're right, Zenny. I just care. They're just representations of things that we all go through in life and things you watch people go through around you. Terri never trolls. Maybe I don't, Matthew. Maybe I'm always like just being genuine, but people think it's trolly. No, celebrity shows. No, I don't. Okay, moving on. Yeah, Caleb was here. He popped and said hi. I wanted to share something from his channel. Was there a Ben who got away in my life? Oh. I've known a few Bens in my life who seemed like they could be something, but I wouldn't say they got away. I couldn't say, oh, they got away, as if like I don't have a one that got away, really. There's not a one that got away at this point in my mind. Terri threw them away. Or it just didn't, that our lives went in separate directions. Like there wasn't really any thing keeping us together, and there wasn't enough mutual interest. Like maybe there was but anyway. I'm being charitable, assuming she's joking when she's not. Hello to Ron. Hello to Mena and Irish Repub. Of course, I'm still friends with Leah. Yes, Serena. Oh, I saw her on Sunday. We went to see Coraline together. Let's see. Yeah, I was going to share one of the Donahue clips that Caleb shared on his channel so graciously. So I wanted to pull that up and talk about it here, I guess. I'm not sure if I saved it. I might have to look it up. Yeah. Ugh. Why do I do that? Okay. Well, give me a moment while I, navigate here. Yes, hasn't that been excellent? Yeah. Hi, Lord Bibby. Thanks for popping in. Yeah. Caleb is just, yeah. He does cover really interesting topics. And he comes from a very, interesting perspective as well. Like, I really appreciate all of what he knows and what he kind of exposes. I'm like, yeah. Yes, he did write a book about her. We talked about it on this channel. And he wrote the introduction to the book we're going to be reading tonight. So I'm looking forward to reading that. Yeah, Caleb's loving the love. Shout out to Caleb. We are glad he is with us tonight. Okay. Yeah, okay. So he did this beautiful stream tribute which I really enjoyed on his channel. Like that was really cool, Caleb. I appreciate when you do things like that because yeah, Donahue is so iconic. Like it really is the end of an era. Like that he's passed. It's like, oh man, there's no one like him now. I can't think of anyone that compares. It's a loss. Mm, Caleb has following me. Caleb and I have known each other how many years? It's well over 6. What? I think I became aware of you like 2010, maybe before then even. Yeah, hey, we both got it right. So yeah, that's 14 years. Oh man. just being on the internet, doing our little thing. How my little videos doing. Okay. Yeah, well, Caleb's been a great, just great channel. Seriously, if you're not subscribed, you're missing out. I can't recommend it enough. And I really love the tribute he did. I also really love that he clipped the Donahue pieces that he shared. So I wanted to share one of them. It was one I remember, and I remember it was everywhere. And I was like just rooting for him in this. It's the time he was on Bill O'Reilly. So I really want to share that. Thank you, Ron. That's nice of you to say. Thank you. Oh man, Lord Bibby, you missed the Bennifer talk. You're going to have to go back and watch on repeat. How much of it is commie leaning? Oh, a lot of it. Yeah, you'll love it. I mean, it is and it isn't. He's way more, he's past like, I don't even know how to describe it, but he's beyond being a one-dimensional kind of channel. He brings a lot of different things. So yes, Bibby is a real one. Yes. Shout out to C-Sal and Bibby for, mourning the loss of Bennifer with me. And if you haven't spoken out about this topic in the chat, like please, bring your feelings here to the chat and let it out. How do you feel? Are you mourning the loss of that great relationship? Are you gloating? Like, let me know. I'd love to know. Okay. Oh my goodness. So, yeah. I have it at about that spot. So let me this was a big deal, y'all. I remember watching this on TV when it happened. So like, yes. Oh man, Cindy Sheehan. Okay, we'll stop it there. Sorry, y'all, it takes me a moment. What am I gonna do if Kamala wins? I'm gonna be fine. I'm gonna keep doing what I've been doing. I'm not gonna let that stop me from doing what I have to do in my life. I'm just gonna keep living my life. What do you mean? What am I gonna do? I'll be fine. What? Like, come on. Like, there we go. Okay. Yeah. Okay. We're here. People who disrespect Kennedys are ridiculous. Can you let me know a bit more about what you're saying, what you're referring to? Irish Repub. I'm not sure what you mean. I mean, well, I haven't watched. I am not up with it, so I haven't kept up with what happened with RFK today. Did he? Did he? Like what happened? I don't know. What am I trying to say? Like, well, anyway, yeah. Here he is with Farrakhan.
And that's the kind of man I want you to be, so that your program won't diminish over time, but will grow.
Thanks for staying with us. And Bill O'Reilly in the Fact or Follow segment tonight. While most politicians have stayed far away from Cindy Sheehan because of her somewhat radical views, a few showbiz people have embraced her. In the past, Ms. Sheehan has criticized Israel, saying it is occupying Palestine, has called Iraqi insurgents freedom fighters, has accused Americans of killing people ever since we stepped on this continent, has threatened Hillary Clinton with the loss of her job unless she calls for a pullout of U.S. troops from Iraq, and has called the U.S. action against Afghanistan a failure. Quite a resume. And with us now is Phil Donahue, who supports Ms. Sheehan's dissent. So I'm assuming you don't support all her positions that I just
Let's understand what's happening here. Once again, we have a woman who got to be just a little too famous for the people who support this war, a minority of the American population, by the way. And so the effort to marginalize this woman is underway, and you're helping out.
I'm the leader of the pack. I'm the leader of the pack.
First of all, Cindy Sheehan is one tough mother, and nothing you say or anyone else are going to slow her down.
No, that's fine. She has a right to do that.
You can't hurt her. She's already taken the biggest punch in the nose that a woman can take. She's lost a son.
Oh, okay.
She's lost a child.
But look, I'm not putting words in her mouth.
By the way, she is going to be at the center of one of the largest rallies since the Vietnam War. Proud, patriotic Americans who will show up in Washington this week for one of the most massive, largest demonstrations, protest demonstrations,
and we'll cover
right outside the president's window.
And
And Fox is in the business.
I just want to address this comment here from Matthew. That's the Holy Spirit moving in this man that's keeping him looking young like that. That crown of white hair is from God. Do not disrespect Phil Donahue in my chat. And not when he's going off on Bill O'Reilly. I love how like people just talk about Bill O'Reilly nowadays. Like he was just like so slimy. I remember just especially in like when he was doing this pushing of the Iraq war. Those were tough times. Those were tough times. It was not a popular war. Okay. And he was out here pushing it like 90 going north, as Jesse would say. And I loved seeing Phil come on and like, you know, and it's always portrayed like the liberals are tough, but I think he kind of was he showed that kind of old school masculinity that is lacking in a lot of journalism. You know, especially like, I mean, we have fallen. It's interesting to look back at Phil Donahue and Bill O'Reilly and think about like how conversations go now, especially about like war. It's a silly one, but I remember being like thrilled by it when it happened. Exactly. That's right. Also, yeah, he's one of us. I'm proud of him. He's one of our boys.
Business of saying that this woman is somehow saying un-American things, hyperbole.
No.
Listen to what she said.
Nobody said she said anything un-American. We say that her positions are radical, and they are radical.
Let me tell you what's radical. What's radical is to send more Americans to die in this war, which is a monumental blunder by a president who swaggered us into it with, by the way, the at least tacit approval of the Democratic Party. There's a lot of sin to go around here.
What's radical for
you want to send more people to this war? Is that your
If
position?
we cut and run out of there like you want to do, we would be putting every American in 1,000 times more jeopardy than they're in now.
We're going to cut and run anyway,
Well,
Bill.
that's your opinion.
What's not my opinion? American military leaders have said we're going to draw down beginning next year.
The difference between drawing down and cutting and running.
Well,
you're a cut and run guy, and I don't want my family in danger.
You want to stay the course, don't you?
Look, here's what I want to do. I want to give the Iraqis a chance to train their army so they can defeat these people who are trying to turn it into a terrorist state.
Bill,
that's what I want to do.
Bill,
go.
This Iraq was not a terrorist state.
Oh no!
I hope I don't patronize you for saying
guy. He was
Saddam.
great guy.
Saddam was a bastard, but he was our bastard.
He wasn't anybody.
Donald Rumsfeld shook his hand in the 80s.
Well,
you saw the pictures. Now listen. You wouldn't send your children to this war, Bill.
My nephew just enlisted in the Army. You don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Very good. Congratulations.
Yeah, and he's a patriot, so don't denigrate his service or I'll boot you right off the set.
I'm not.
That boy made a decision to serve his country. Do not denigrate him or you're out of here.
I'm not Jeremy Glick, Billy.
That's right. A little bit more intelligence than
I'm not somebody you can come and just spew all
Don't tell me I wouldn't send my kids.
Loud doesn't mean
my nephew just enlisted. You don't know what you're talking about.
Your nephew is not your kid.
You are my blood.
You are part of a loud group of people who want to prove they're tough and send other people's kids to war to make the case.
You have no clue about how to fight a war on terror or how to defend your country. You are clueless. So is Ms. Sheehan. And for Ms. Sheehan to say that the insurgents have a right to kill Americans and you're shaking her hand, you ought to just walk away.
How many more young men and women are you going to send to have their arms and legs blown off so that you can be tough and point at people in a kind of cowardly way? Take people like Jeremy Glick, who comes on in memory of his parents, and you go
Jeremy
off on
Glick,
him like a big bully.
Hey,
Billy, you have to
Mr. Donahue, with all due respect.
Have you apologized to him for
baloney.
that?
Jeremy Glick came on this program and accused the President of the United States of orchestrating 9/11. That's what he did. Right after 9/11 happened. You know what the pain that brought the families who lost people at 9/11?
This war.
You buy into left-wing propaganda, and you're a mouthpiece for it. Go ahead.
This war is not fair to the American troops. This war is unconstitutional. This war turned its back on the people who framed the most fabulous document in the history of civilization. I speak of the United States Constitution.
All right. Why isn't the Democratic Party speaking that way?
I'm sorry that it isn't. I am. But let's understand something.
Are we all so misguided?
21 Democrats in the Senate voted against this war, as well as Jeffords, an independent, and may the Lord shine his blessings down upon Lincoln Chafee.
I'm going to say something.
I'm almost finished, Billy.
I'm going to give you the last word.
Almost finished. Lincoln Chafee, the only Republican in the Senate to vote against this war. We should be building statues to all these people. October 2002, they stood up to a president, and they knew that, first of all, only Congress can declare war. Why is that unimportant to you, Billy?
Listen,
why can't you become the patriot that your loud voice proclaims to be and stand behind the Constitution and insist that we never go to war again without the approval and consent of the United States Congress.
If they want to take action, they can take action. Now, I'm going to say something. I'm going to give the last word. The Iraq War is not something that I embrace. It absolutely could be a tactical error. All right,
just listen. Hard to know this.
Listen to me, and then you're going to have the last word. Not something they embrace. Could be a tactical error, optional war, and we have not waged it the way I had hoped we would wage it.
But what?
But we are in a war on terror. We are in a war on terror. Our cause
is nothing to do with the war on terror.
Yes, it does. And if you don't understand geopolitics, if you don't understand Iraq would be a terrorist state if we pulled out of there, you don't know anything.
Poorly planned and poorly executed, but Bill O'Reilly wants to send more kids to fight and die. We've already had almost 2,000. Just let me have the last word. In the last year, two things have doubled. The number of dead American troops in Iraq have doubled. from over 1,000 to almost 2,000. You know what else doubled, Billy? The price of Halliburton stock, from $33 to $66. That doesn't shame you? That doesn't make you wonder whether this is an enterprise that is worth the support of the American people? We need you at this rally on Saturday, Billy. We need you out there in front of it. But to protest.
I'm not going to be
There
at
is
your rally,
no democracy without dissent. You should be proud of people who stand up and dissent.
I respect your dissent.
A lot of fine men went and died to give me that freedom.
You got it. I respect your dissent. I think you're way off in your analysis.
You want to send more people to die in Iraq? Is that
want to win the war in Iraq?
Win. What does win mean?
It means
tell me
those
what win
people
means.
Have a chance at democracy. I gotta go.
How long is that going to take?
I gotta go.
How long is that going to take?
Those people deserve a chance at freedom. Thank you for coming in. Right back with an unbelievable story, the growing theory that the flood.
It's just so funny that he was like, I'm going to give you the last word, and then he didn't. Like, what a baby. He really had to have the last word. It was so dramatic. Wasn't that good TV? That was amazing. Yeah, Caleb, thank you for sharing that. Seriously. I wasn't expecting to see it. I hadn't thought about it in years, but like, yeah, watching that again was like a moment. I was like, oh man, like Phil Donahue was, and he shared a lot of other interesting interviews with him, and you can go and watch these things as well. And I highly recommend you do, because he was an iconic American, and Americans are really exceptional people. I think that's part of the American spirit. And I felt like, so much of what he was saying there was the truth. And it was wonderful. So, yeah, it was a great moment to remember him and to remember, what he contributed, in his career. Well, yeah, I hope your stream goes well, Caleb. I'm sorry. We're going to be doing this, but I'll tell people to go check you out, obviously. So yeah, we're going to move on. Yes, I do, Zenny. And you know what? Tell me you don't believe in it too. They are. That's part of the American, spirit and mythos. It's like the rugged individual. It's part of the, inspiration of Americanism, the thing I get wrapped up in. There's something about us, and we just kind of set the tone for other places. Like, people copy us so much. Terry believes in male superiority. Yeah, in many ways, yes. Yes. Most things, yes. Yes, I know. There's so many cool things he did. And just, yeah, the way he kind of communicated with people was so powerful. Right. That's right. Oh, that's sweet of you to say, Matthew. You're going to clip me? I never clip myself. I never think to, but maybe I should. Maybe I should make funny little clips, because I know there are moments in these streams, but I just don't have the time. Yeah. Well, okay, let's get into this. We're moving on. This is the Green Book, with the new introduction by Caleb Maupin. This is what you really want. I have had a lot of interest in this, so I'm glad people are joining me to actually go through this kind of book. And I look forward to, a lively discussion of it. So let's dig in. That's right. I'm out here gaslighting and girl bossing my way through life. Expand my window. Oh yeah, let me get silly me. Oops. Thank you for reminding me. I know. I hope he is. I hope wherever Joel is right now that he's proud of me. I know I'm proud of him. Okay, so there's this lovely photograph of him as a young man. Quite a striking individual. People thought he was crazy. Maybe he was. So this is the introduction by Caleb Mopin. Like I said, go onto his channel, check it out. It's a good time. The history of the African nation of Libya stands as one of the strongest indictments of imperialism and Western capitalism, as well as one of the strongest testaments to the strength of socialism. Prior to 1969, Libyans were a colonized people. The Italians ruled over them from 1911 to 1943. After the Second World War, a U.S. British-backed autocratic monarchy was imposed on the country. Western corporations began enriching themselves with the nation's petroleum resources, while the population remained deeply impoverished and the country remained underdeveloped and agrarian. This all changed in 1969 when Libya had a socialist revolution. With the birth of the Libyan Arab Republic and eventually the Islamic Socialist Jamahiriya, I may not pronounce these words. I may come across words I don't know how to pronounce. Gaddafi was a man's man. Yes, he was. Yes, he was. Okay, where was I? This impoverished country saw dramatic and rapid improvements in living conditions. The Green Revolution involved a redistribution of land and the public control of the oil resources. The new socialist government began to control banking and closely regulate the price of food and other social necessities. In 1969, the gross domestic product of Libya was $3.8 billion, but by 1974, it was $13.7 billion. And by 1979, it had grown to $24.5 billion. That's amazing. That's amazing growth. Housing was guaranteed to the population, and shanty towns were replaced with modern housing units. The country was fully electrified, and illiteracy was wiped out. Public education was provided to the population, and the new universities were constructed. By 1978, Libya had twice as many doctors and hospitals as it had prior to the revolution. Also, women were guaranteed equality under the Libyan constitution and began participating in the government. New laws protected girls from being sold into marriages and being otherwise treated as chattel. The population was organized into a network of revolutionary committees that enforced the goals of the socialist revolution on a social level. Libya began working towards the goal of becoming an independent nation in terms of food by greening the desert and creating farmland. In August of 1984, the first stone was laid, and the process of building the world's largest irrigation system began. The great man-made river would grow to be the largest network of pipes and aqueducts in the world, supplying fresh water across the country through the desert and enabling vast agricultural expansion. I know, I mean, this is when like people talk about, when I hear people talk about the history of communism in like Russia or China, I don't think people like really understand the conditions people were living in prior to these social like upheavals, like the amount of just unrest there was. And poverty and like just these countries were not industrialized like the West was. So there was a lot to overcome in a short period of time. And it's like when I look at it from a historical position, I'm just like, okay, well, we are where we are now, but I wonder, like, would they have had the kind of growth if they hadn't had these kind of systems in place? Like, why did it happen? Well, because maybe it had to. I don't know. I know. Where is Fred? Fred's probably out flying his drone, trying to get some good footage on a Friday night. Yeah, I know. Yeah. I mean, civilizations, they come and they go sometimes. Quit trying to impress Caleb. Honey, I don't need to impress anyone. I'm impressive just generally. I don't have to impress anyone. I'm not trying to impress nobody. Thank you. Rude. Okay, let's see. Meet Colonel Gaddafi. The man at the center of Libya's vast transformation was Muammar Mohammed Abu Minyar Gaddafi. Gaddafi was born to an illiterate family of Bedouin. Really? He was a Bedouin? I didn't know that. That's interesting. Because his parents could not read or write and kept no birth records, the date of his birth is unknown. Though Gaddafi's father was not educated, he made great sacrifices to send his son to school. Oh, that's really amazing. What an interesting background. In order to attend school, the young Gaddafi slept in a mosque. He only saw his family on weekends and holidays and had to travel 20 miles to do so. As an impoverished Bedouin, he faced bullying and humiliation from his city-dwelling classmates. However, he had many Egyptian teachers who told him of the dramatic events happening in their homeland. Even as a child, Gaddafi became enthusiastic about politics. He admired Gamal Abdel Nasser, the Arab socialist who had taken power in Egypt. He opposed Israel and Zionism and felt great pride in the fact that members of his family had battled against the Italian occupiers. Before Gaddafi was even 20 years old, he was spending his free time pulling up anti-imperialist I'm sorry. I was thinking of reading this about him, and I didn't even know he was like from that kind of background. And to know that like Hillary Clinton was on TV cackling about killing him, and people still like supported her and voted for her. Like, it's just shocking to me. It's just shocking to me. Like, oh man. Like, and this is what I'm saying about like woman president, you know, like stop putting the woman thing before everything else. The right woman will naturally come to favor, but like, do we really have confidence in these people, these women? These aren't the kind of women. Like, it either has to happen naturally or not. But this feels rather unnatural, this obsession with making a woman president happen. Like, I don't think it's not important. It's beside the point. And like, we keep getting these options of women who are just like, amazing. Yeah, I know. I'm glad that you feel this. I'm glad that there's love. Yeah, I know. He was doing great things. Like, really. He was about people, man. This was a salt of the earth person that these elites just knocked off. And like, country that they've ruined. Ugh. Ugh. And, you know, and I speak, this is my country too. These people are, you know, this is done in our name. I don't know what to do about it. What can we do? And that's why dissent is important. And don't be a bootlicker for these freaking wars. Because it's fake news. It's fake news. Okay, anyway, moving on. Whoa, are you serious? Don't pull me away from the book. Yeah, I know. But think of how much good that would have done. Like, really. That would have been such a stabilizing force. It would have been like, anyway. Gaddafi was trying to help people. And they took him out. He was doing the right thing. Oh my God. Okay, anyway, I like to be dramatic when I get into these books, so excuse me. Okay. Where was I? Okay, so even before he was even 20 years old, he was spending his free time putting up anti-imperialist posters and organizing demonstrations against the king, who was a puppet of the US and Britain. In response to his activism, Gaddafi's family was banned from the city of Sabah and forced to relocate to Misrata. Soon Gaddafi found himself in the Royal Military Academy in Benghazi, rising in the ranks. He was recognized by his teachers and classmates for his exceptional intelligence. Despite being a high-achieving student, Gaddafi hated the British instructors at the military academy, believing that they disrespected Libyan culture and Islam. As a military officer, Gaddafi formed a secret society inspired by the various patriotic officers that were organized throughout the Arab world. They had a network of clandestine cells where military men who hated imperialism and loved their homeland took an oath and conspired to seize power. The Libyan revolution began with the working class. oil workers went on strike, demanding better pay and conditions. The population supported the oil workers, with protests and rebellions erupting across the country. On September 1st, 1969, the patriotic officers swung into motion and seized government buildings. The Crown Prince was arrested, and soon Gaddafi was on TV declaring to the country that the revolution would lead Libya toward freedom, socialism, and unity. Dang. Are you getting censored, Mena? I'm sorry they're doing you like that. Is Mena the flag chief? Oh no, Mena, are the Jays coming for you, Mena? Are you doing something with the Jays? Oh, you're doing something with the Blacks. Oh dear. You cannot compare someone to a monkey on YouTube. Okay, so guys, don't compare people to monkeys. Yes, I know. Yes, he was very supportive of the IRA. Okay, let's continue. The Green Book, A Vision for Democracy and Socialism. Of course, Gaddafi has been subject to extreme ridicule and demonization by the voices that represent the Western imperialists and capitalists that he drove out of Libya. You know, and that's interesting. Even my favorite show ever, Peep Show, has a line in it where they have a joke about him. And anyway, Mark would be the kind of guy, though, to have that thought. So maybe it's funny, but, you know, there's all this propaganda, you know. They portrayed him much like they portray Kim Jong-un or Fidel Castro. I know, I hate the way these men are like treated, really. They're tough guys. Kim Jong-un is tough. And so is Fidel Castro. Like, regardless of what else you want to say about them, like, and they stood on their principle. Like, they're standing on their thing. Can y'all see that? See what? Yeah, Well Point fire was in the airfield at Baden-Baden, where the flights departed that took out the Libyan jets. Wow. Well, as if he is some ignorant buffoon with tyrannical powers. However, Gaddafi's life illustrates that he was a brilliant politician and statesman. In the early years of the revolution, the country's new strongman was quite frustrated by the lack of progress. In both 1971 and 1973, he attempted to step down because he was tired of dealing with corruption and slow-moving bureaucracy. Both times he was brought back to office by popular demand, with mass protests and public outcry demanding his return. Wow. Wow. Yeah, I've heard about that. That reminds me of like reading about Shirley Chisholm. Oh man. Y'all need to go back. I did a show and tell reading years ago. This biography of Shirley Chisholm, another like iconic American. I just had a moment thinking about that. And I remember being so moved by the fact that people actually, before she ever even thought of running, these women came to her, brought her money, and asked her to run for office and represent them. And I was like so moved by that. And this is kind of on a much grander scale, like when they want to retire and the people won't let them. People aren't starving in Cuba. They're eating all right in Cuba. I know Cubans. They eat, you know. Hi, Josh Musics. Okay, so I need to stop looking at chat. On April 16, 1973, Gaddafi launched the Popular Revolution. The aim was to transform Libya into a fully socialist state. A few months later, in the June of 1973, he published the Green Book. The book explains the unique form of socialism applied in Libya. Gaddafi was not a Marxist, though he clearly drew heavily from Marxism-Leninism and had studied it extensively. Gaddafi was not a Ba'athist Arab socialist either, though he was greatly inspired by these movements in the region. Proof of Gaddafi's brilliance can be found in his writings, exposing the fraudulent nature of democracy in many countries. He wrote, "Under such systems, the people are the victims whose votes are vied for by exploitative competing factions who dupe the people into political circuses that are outwardly noisy and frantic, but inwardly powerless and irrelevant." I mean, sound familiar? I don't like Zeddy in here. What are you going to do if Kamala wins? I'm going to be okay, honey. Okay. Alternatively, the people are seduced into standing in long, apathetic, silent queues to cast their ballots in the same way that they throw waste paper into dustbins. This is the traditional democracy prevalent in the whole world, whether it is represented by a one-party, two-party, multi-party, or non-party system. What is pemmican? Isn't that something from that thing that Nick is playing, that plantation game? That's where I've heard it from. I don't know what it is otherwise. I mean, I know, Irish Repub is spitting some facts. I mean, they are a bit like us. We are a bit like them. Hello? Where are you? Where are you? Are you behind me? Did I say we are a bit like them and then you cried? Where? Oh, you're right there. Hi. Isn't that sweet? I said we are a bit like them, and then he was like, hey. Hello, hello. Come here. Where are you? Where'd you go? You want to get on my lap? You are more than welcome to get on my lap. Come on. Come on. Okay. 2 cans in the house. He's 3 cans today, Yoda. He got an extra can. No, apes are very violent. You know, people who keep chimps as pets, those are crazy when they attack people and they go for the face. Like, you do not want to be attacked by an ape. But you don't want to be attacked by a human either. We have dominion over the animals. Yeah. Hey, yeah. I asked him honestly if he was still hungry, and he was like, I'm still hungry. And I was like, all right. I was like, you've been a good boy. I haven't been spoiling him too much. He can have a third can today. Did you get a third can? Yes, you did. 3 cans in the house. We don't want to do that every day, though, because he's going to get fat. Oh, Jesus. Calvin, I will not answer such a question. I think both of you are very horrible. These 3 cans for today. Somebody's wasted a bit. It was a lot to come on here today. Hell of a pick, huh? Yoda. I can't with you. I spoil and overfeed all my animals, Terri, just make him fat. No, that's not loving. No, it's not loving to make him fat. I don't want him to be fat. If I'm not going to be fat, he's not going to be fat. We're not going to be fat. We made that promise to each other. We stay not fat for each other. That's messed up. I know. Okay. How are you feeling? Are you restful yet? Are you restful yet? That guy girl fight wasn't that good. There was a guy and girl fighting. He likes milk. I don't know. I tried to give him some today and he wasn't into it. I asked him, like, do you want some? But I guess I was determined to give him some regardless. So maybe I didn't listen. But yeah, he didn't go for it. So I just gave him some more meat instead. Because I was like, She tapped though. Oh God, I hope. Women need to stop getting into these altercations. Like, it's ridiculous, honestly. Don't put yourself in that situation. Like, where is your self-preservation as a woman, really? Where is your dignity in that? Like, I don't know why you're fighting in general. I get that it's like a sport to some women. Whatever, and it's good to be athletic, and it's good to be, know how to fight, defend yourself. But I don't know, like, even if you are doing that and you're really great at it, you're no match for what a below average male, in your weight class can do. Gabby Garcia, yeah, like, of course. I remember you bringing her up before now. I don't know, Matthew. I don't know what you mean. I don't know what that has to do with, like, these boxing matches or whatever. I don't even know what they are. I don't know what kind of sports these are. 50 pounds heavier on a female frame. That isn't necessarily, you're not going to be stronger than a man. Like, I don't know. Like, what are they thinking? What are they thinking? That's right, Cecil. I mean, I suppose they do. And that's just what I'm saying. Like, if they're doing it, then they must want to. But I think it's, dumb. I don't think it's a good idea. I think you're going to get hurt. And for what? So that you can feel tough? Like, I don't know. Let's get back to the book. I'm sorry. Not sorry. Nero came over, said hi, got some attention. Okay. For Gaddafi, democracy was about bringing ordinary people into the political process. He writes, popular conferences are the only means to achieve popular democracy. Any system of government contrary to this method, the method of popular conferences, is undemocratic. True democracy has but one method and one theory, the dissimilarity and diversity of the systems claiming to be democratic do, in fact, provide evidence that they are not so. Authority of the people has but one face, which can only be realized through popular conferences and people's committees. There can be no democracy without popular conferences and committees everywhere. The people become the instrument of government, and the dilemma of democracy in the world is conclusively solved. He exposes the myth of the freedom of the press in a society where a small group of capitalists control the major media. An individual has the right to express himself or herself, even if he or she behaves irrationally to demonstrate his or her insanity. Corporate bodies, too, have the right to express their corporate identity. The former represents only themselves, and the latter represent those who share their corporate identity. Since society consists of private individuals and corporate bodies, the expression, for example, by an individual of his or her insanity does not mean that the other members of society are insane. Such expression reflects only in the individual's character. Likewise, corporate expression reflects only the interest or view of those making up the corporate body. For instance, a tobacco company, despite the fact that what it produces is harmful to health, expresses the interests of those who make up the company. The press is a means of expression for society. It is not a means of expression for private individuals or corporate bodies. Therefore, logically and democratically, it should not belong to either one of them. He calls for a publicly controlled and accountable media that puts the people's interests first. The democratic press is that which is issued by a people's committee comprising all the groups of society. Only in the case, and not otherwise, will the press or any other information medium be democratic, expressing the viewpoints of the whole society and representing all its groups. When discussing economics, Gaddafi emphasizes that workers must be co-owners of the enterprises in which they toil. Wage earners are but slaves to the masters who hire them. They are temporary slaves, and their slavery lasts as long as they work for wages from employers, be they individuals or the state. The worker's relationship to the owner or the productive establishment and to their own interests is similar under all prevailing conditions in the world today, regardless of whether ownership is right or left. Even publicly owned establishments give workers wages as well as other social benefits, similar to the charity endowed by the rich owners of economic establishments upon those who work for them. The transformation of existing societies of wage earners into those of partners is inevitable as a dialectical outcome to the contradictory economic theories prevailing in the world today. It is also a dialectical outcome of the unjust relationship based on the wage system. None of these issues have been resolved to date. Gaddafi's writings will remind American readers of Franklin Delano Roosevelt's statements about freedom from want and his description of the need to eradicate poverty. He writes, "The freedom of a human being is lacking if his or her needs are controlled by others. For need may lead to the enslavement of one person by another. Furthermore, exploitation is caused by need. Need is an intrinsic problem, and conflict is initiated by the control of one's needs by another." Gaddafi's third universal theory is a unique understanding of socialism. It rejects capitalism, but also opposes Marxism. It draws heavily from Islam and the collectivist traditions of Bedouin culture. Despite identifying with Arab culture, Gaddafi sees people of Africa as the future. In a section of the book entitled "Black People Will Prevail in the World," he writes, "The latest age of slavery has been the enslavement of Blacks by white people. The memory of this age will persist in the thinking of Black people until they have vindicated themselves. This tragic and historic event, the resulting bitter feeling, and the yearning or the vindication of a whole race constitute a psychological motivation of Black people to vengeance and triumph that cannot be disregarded. In addition, the inevitable cycle of social history, which includes the yellow people's domination of the world when it marched from Asia, and the white people carrying out a wide-ranging colonialist movement covering all the continents of the world, is now giving way to the reemergence of Black people." Gaddafi also champions the liberation of women, writing, "There is no difference between men and women in all that concerns humanity. None of them should marry the other against his or her will, or divorce without a just trial or mutual agreement. Neither should a woman remarry without such agreement or divorce, nor a man without divorce or consent. All societies today look upon women as little more than commodities. The East regards her as a commodity to be bought and sold, while the West does not recognize her femininity." Yo, that was insightful. Can I read that again? Hallelujah. "The East regards her as a commodity to be bought and sold, while the West does not recognize her femininity." That is very insightful. I'm going to smoke on that one. That was, yep. Okay, Gaddafi's views on issues such as race and gender were amazingly progressive at the time he published this book. The US-aligned autocracy in Saudi Arabia only legalized the act of women driving cars in 2018, while many of the activists who demanded it are still in prison or facing execution. Furthermore, contempt for African people and declarations that they are inferior remain a widespread belief among regimes in the Arab world, even today. Gaddafi's views are certainly more traditional than those of the Western liberal activists in 2020. But the contents of this book were groundbreaking. It empowered millions of dark-skinned Libyans who were being treated as subhuman and enabled Libyan women to participate in the governing process. The centuries-old practices of discrimination and dehumanization were significantly uprooted by having a progressive-minded Islamic socialist reformer as head of state. While Gaddafi drew heavily from Islam, his government was considered to be secular by the Muslim Brotherhood and adherents of Wahhabism. Religious minorities prospered in Libya, with Coptic and Catholic Christians openly practicing their faith. Despite being generally friendly to Christians, Gaddafi did make a point of converting the Tripoli Cathedral into a mosque as a symbol of victory over European colonizers who built it in 1920. Oh, that must have been, oof. Take that, Christians. This is our land. Even took the cathedral, y'all. Yeah, I don't like this book. Shout out Hillary. We haven't even gotten to the book yet. We're still reading Caleb's intro, okay? Anyway, let's go. Let's continue. Lies to justify war. In 2011, amidst the Arab Spring protests, a barrage of videos and reports swept U.S. mainstream media, as well as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Gaddafi was said to be a brutal dictator, and his people were supposedly in revolt against him. The former first prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, Luis Moreno Ocampo, proclaimed, "We have information that there was a policy to rape in Libya those who were against the government. Apparently, he, Gaddafi, used it to punish people." Hillary Clinton declared rape, physical intimidation, sexual harassment, and even so-called virginity tests have taken place in countries throughout the region. It's interesting, like, how much they lead with that when, like, what did they get up to themselves? He made the Italians dig up their forefathers when he kicked them out. Are you serious? No, I can't see Fred. Is Fred in the chat? Fred. I don't. Fred, are you here? I don't see you. Yoda's making it up? Wait, what? You made it up. Wait, what? You got me? Did you guys get me? Oh my God. Oh. Okay. The allegations got uglier each day, and after the dust settled, NATO bombs had destroyed the prosperous African country, after which the claims were largely debunked. While many outlets reported that Gaddafi was issuing Viagra to his soldiers and ordering them to rape women, Donatella Rovera, a senior crisis advisor for Amnesty International, reported that these claims could not be confirmed. And who believed them anyway? Yeah, soldiers do stuff like that, but I'm supposed to believe that that was orders coming from Gaddafi? Like, really? Really? Ridiculous. Anyway, she reported that after her organization had investigated, we have not found any evidence or a single victim of rape or a doctor who knew about somebody being raped. No evidence. No evidence. Liesl Gernholz, who was sent to Libya to investigate as the head of women's rights at Human Rights Watch, said, "We have not been able to find evidence." Okay. So Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International could not find any evidence that these claims were true. Interesting. Many of the crowds described in international media as peaceful protesters had in fact been armed and fired on Libyan soldiers. Amnesty International backed a report from the International Crisis Group, writing, "Much Western media coverage has from the outset presented a very one-sided view of the logic of events, portraying the protest movement as entirely peaceful and repeatedly suggesting that the regime's security forces were unaccountably massacring unarmed demonstrators who presented no security challenge." Journalist Patrick Cockburn of UK Independent raised the alarm in June of 2011 with an article entitled "Amnesty Questions Claim that Gaddafi Ordered Rape as a Weapon of War," but his revelations were largely ignored. The US media wanted regime change in Libya. Rumors of atrocities and claims from anti-Gaddafi fanatics filled the airwaves. There is no question that Libya did not have anything near the level of human rights found in Western countries. Gaddafi was often quite ruthless with opponents who sought to violently overturn the Islamic socialist system. The security forces and the popular committees in neighborhoods and universal campuses were known to monitor and intimidate people considered to be problematic. One of the most outspoken advocates for democratic reform and human rights in Libya was Saif al-Islam Gaddafi, Muammar's son. Saif empathetically declared on many occasions that he had no interest in becoming his father's successor, as Libya was not a farm to inherit. You read Mein Kampf. No, I don't want to read Mein Kampf. I mean, maybe if people really want me to read it, we'll read it. Okay, like if I get an overwhelming amount of support from that for that idea, then yeah. But one suggestion, I don't know. But we're reading this right now, okay? So let's not live in the future. Okay, we have one. Stop trying to, yeah, you're always trying to make me think Fred is like, I've upset him or something. You're just, it's not nice. Don't do that. Don't try to trick me. I'm I'm not going back and reading your mess. Okay, let's see. Many times, Gaddafi's family members met with student dissidents and others who had grievances, especially when the fighting began in 2011. Efforts were made to bring dissenters into the governing process and allow them to participate in adjusting Libya's political system to be more in their favor. However, the US-backed extremists and armed foreign fighters had no interest in dialogue. The war in Libya was not about human rights. Foreign fighters from across the Islamic world were pouring in for the purpose of overthrowing the socialist government. Reports filled Arab media claiming Gaddafi had a non-Muslim girlfriend and that he drank alcohol. Wow. Oh my. Well, he wouldn't be the first Muslim man I've met that lives that way. Shout out to the Muslim men. We know you. We see you. Okay. Okay. Their main grievance was not that Gaddafi violated human rights or tortured his opponents, but that he was secular. Interesting. Okay, so we have 3 votes for Mein Kampf. Okay, I don't have a copy of it. Definitely send me super chats for that one, guys. Come on. Because I don't want to buy it with my money, and I don't have a copy. So okay, where are we? Okay, let's see. Videos began surfacing of crowds of wealthy anti-Gaddafi Libyans lynching dark-skinned African guest workers. A New York Times headline from September 5th, 2011 reads, Libyans turn wrath on dark-skinned migrants. Racism was a central plank of the anti-Gaddafi forces, with slogans like Gaddafi is killing us with his Africans, taken up by anti-Gaddafi fighters. The gruesome manner of the street mob killings carried out by Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton's revolutionaries shocked the world. Dark-skinned migrant workers were targeted because many wealthy Libyans resented that Gaddafi had worked on behalf of people they deemed to be inferior. Millions of Libyan people rallied to support Islamic socialism. Armed green militias in which women took the lead, oh dear. See, that's, yeah, these... Shout out to the women militia leaders. They did what they had to do. If the men aren't leading, honey, somebody's got to do it. Oh, man. Oh, what a mess. I don't want a paper trail. I buy all kinds of crazy books. Don't worry about me and my little paper trail. Yeah, someone buy the book for me. Exactly. Or offset my cost of purchase. Reimburse me for purchasing it. It'll be a fun one to put in the community library, wouldn't it? Isn't that a funny idea? I was like, oh, I think I'll put the Robert Webb one in the community library. And I'm like, would I ever put Mein Kampf in there? Okay. Okay. Okay, we were on the women taking the lead. Okay, so they fought off the foreign fighters. Then the NATO bombing campaign was conducted because Islamic socialist forces were winning on the ground. In battle after battle, the armed population loyal to Gaddafi was victorious. Obama instituted a no-fly zone and then unleashed a horrendous bombing campaign because his proxies on the ground, armed and trained by the CIA and European intelligence, were being defeated. Shout out to the women-led militias. Okay. If the intent of the Western capitalist powers was to help the Libyan people with a humanitarian intervention, they utterly failed. Conditions in Libya have not improved, but have become far worse. Much of the country's infrastructure has been destroyed. Even now, 9 years after the US NATO intervention that destroyed the socialist government and killed Gaddafi, conditions in the country are still dire. Libyans are still fleeing. According to the World Health Organization statement from May 13, 2020, since the start of this year, more than 3,200 people have been intercepted at sea and returned to Libya. Many end up in one of the 11 official detention centers. Others are taken to facilities or unofficial detention centers to which the humanitarian community does not have access. The United Nations has repeatedly reiterated that Libya is not a safe port and that persons rescued at sea should not be returned to arbitrary detention. Women and children continue to bear the brunt of the ongoing armed conflict in Libya over the past year. The United Nations verified 113 cases of grave violations, including killing and maiming of children, attacks on schools and health facilities. Hospitals and health facilities have been targeted by shelling, further disrupting Libya's fragile health system. Since the beginning of the year, at least 15 attacks have damaged health facilities and ambulances and injured healthcare workers. These attacks are a blatant violation of international humanitarian law and even more egregious during the COVID-19 pandemic. Since 2013, over 700,000 people have crossed from Libya over the Mediterranean to Italy to flee chaos in the country. Hundreds have died in the process of trying to reach Italy. Among the US-backed fighters who came to Libya to overthrow socialism was Katiba al-Bitar al-Ibi. This organization swore allegiance to ISIS in 2014 after Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi declared that he had restored the caliphate in Mosul. On May 22, 2017, 23 people were killed in Britain's Manchester Arena after a suicide bomber detonated a homemade explosive device at a concert. The perpetrator was Salman Ramadan Abedi, a 22-year-old Libyan who had fought against socialism alongside his father. Both the bomber and his father had fought with the Islamic fighting group in Libya, helped to overthrow the Islamic socialist government led by Gaddafi, and then returned to live in the United Kingdom. It is reported that al-Bedi learned how to make bombs from other Libyan anti-socialist fighters that were then backed by the United States. Libya's oil exports have drastically decreased to less than 10% of what they were prior to 2011. when oil revenue laid the basis for the socialist government's construction projects and providing for the population. Libya serves as a case study not only of socialism's success, but the utter failure of capitalism. Much like Iraq, Afghanistan, or Syria, Libya has in no way benefited from the efforts from the United States to conduct regime change. The adoption of Western capitalism, joining the open international system, has not improved the lives of the people. A failure of the US left. Another failure of the left. The left has been taking L's a long time. I mean, hey, when Libya was besieged by a US-backed when Libya was besieged by US-backed foreign fighters, dubbed revolutionaries by Western media, the later attacked with NATO bombs, Barack Obama was in his first presidential term. The Arab Spring and the anti-austerity protests were in full swing as protesters in New York City unfurled placards that said, "Fight like an Egyptian." Many believed somehow that this armed revolt backed by Western capitalism to overthrow a socialist government was somehow a good thing. Veteran 1960s counterculture activists, who identify more with the movement than with Marxism, were mesmerized by the Guevara-esque aesthetics on Al Jazeera and social media. Because New Left politics had replaced economics and historical materialism with the laments about alienation and freedom found in the work of Sontag, Arendt, and Adorno, the Marxist movement showed very little solidarity. Most leftist groups, Trotskyists, anarchists, social democrats, etc., cheered the Libyan revolutionaries armed by the CIA. Though they gave mild symbolic verbal denunciations of the bombing once cruise missiles began to fly. Only a minority of Marxists opposed the bombing of Libya. They tended to be I guess I wasn't really watching those people at the time. But I feel like all the solid people I've known, like, were very much opposed. We're very much opposed. Oh my God. Interesting chat. I can't really jump in anywhere, guys. You just keep doing your thing. Okay. They tended to be, anti-revisionists who admired Mao or Stalin. They were roundly denounced as tankies and Stalinists who support dictators by the prominent voices representing leftism. Oh my, Caleb. We're going there. The strongest opposition to the bombing of Libya came from Black nationalists. The Nation of Islam convened a rally of tens of thousands in Harlem, in which Minister Louis Farrakhan rallied the crowd to oppose the bombing. Congresswoman Cynthia McKinney visited Libya during the war and spoke strongly against the U.S. regime change operation, as did former U.S. Attorney General Ramsey Clark. Shout out to Cynthia McKinney. I loved her. I always thought she was, when I was a young leftist, I was like, yeah, Cynthia. The Vine girls are way more nasty than the guys. Do you think so, Maina? Depends on the guys and it depends on the girls. I wouldn't know about that. I'm a sweetheart and I never am mean to anyone. Okay, let's see. Now, where were we? Okay. Even among those who opposed the bombing, a childish effort to distance themselves from Gaddafi was displayed. As the Libyan socialist government was fighting for its life and thousands were being killed, Joyce Chediak, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing her name right, I'm not familiar who she is, of Workers' World Party, wrote this analysis of socialism in Libya. They are nationalists because they seek to develop their countries free from imperialist domination. They are bourgeois because they are ruled by an exploiting class of capitalists. Marxists support these governments against imperialism because they are manifestations of self-determination of the oppressed. Okay, yeah, here we go. Manifestations of self-determination of the oppressed. What interesting language. This does not mean that Marxists support every policy of these governments. Marxists also recognize that these regimes have a dual character. Bourgeois nationalists seek to push out the imperialists so they can better exploit their workers. But they have a common interest with the workers when imperialism threatens the country's sovereignty. These governments cannot consistently fight imperialism. However, only the working class can. Okay, so that was Caleb is calling this a childish effort to distance themselves from Gaddafi. Yeah. I don't know how people can read that. Like when I read Marxists talk like that, I just tune out. Like I can never get into that. I never got into those circles where people are talking like that. The Australians are the worst. Australian Marxists. Oh my God. Oh my God. It's just constant with them. Like they have fun doing it. I don't know. I'm just like, you're really into that. Okay. Yeah, I could never talk to people like that. It's just so like, God. Okay. Did Muammar Gaddafi and the millions who joined with him risk their lives, carry out a revolution, construct a socialist government in order to better exploit their workers? Who was it who made up the popular conferences and popular committees that laid the basis for the Libyan socialist state, if not overwhelmingly members of Libya's working class? Exploiting class of capitalists were Gaddafi's greatest enemies, and it was mobilizing the Libyan people to control them and often seize their property that laid the basis for the social transformation of Libya. To dismiss Libya as nationalist is also a vast mischaracterization. The Libyan socialist government stood out for its record of internationalism. Libya supported the Palestinians, the African National Congress, the Irish Republican Army, the Black Panthers, and many people around the world who struggled for justice and liberation. Libya's record of international solidarity was one of the main reasons it was targeted and accused of being a state sponsor of terrorism by the United States. The underlying motivation for this statement, as the author can attest, as a member of Workers' World Party at the time of its publication, was an attempt to maintain credibility. Joyce Chediak, like Fred Goldstein, Deirdre Griswold, and Larry Holmes, all maintained a movementist mindset. Movementist. Is this one of his words? Despite understanding the basics of Marxism-Leninism, they had spent the bulk of their lives as attempting to position themselves as stage managers of Washington, D.C. peace rallies. While they knew the bombing of Libya was wrong, they hoped to win credibility with Rachel Maddow fans and Obama supporters by making clear that their socialism was somehow different from the bourgeois nationalism of Gaddafi. Bourgeois nationalism. Bourgeois nationalism. That's a very interesting term. I didn't catch that when I was reading it. He's taking this chick to task. He's like, actually, ma'am, actually, Joyce. Furthermore, they held on to the ideological orientation that was frozen in time from the Cold War, because Libya, like Syria or the Bolivarian countries of Latin America, was not an explicitly Marxist-Leninist one-party state. It could not be socialist. In short, these denunciations were issued because defending Libya's achievements or emphasizing the socialistic basis of economy was not a winning strategy in recruiting from the movement of liberal activists. At the time, Gaddafi was being portrayed as a homophobe, a misogynist, and in some cases, an Islamophobe in mainstream US media. Obama's liberal social justice-oriented administration was bombing Libya, supposedly to liberate its people from a demagogue. However, it never occurred to Chediak, Goldstein, Griswold, and Holmes to look beyond the movement, not just to oppose the war, but to build a socialist movement in the United States. Middle-class liberals were not the only milieu from whom socialists could recruit. Isn't that interesting? Out of the movement to the masses. On the day Gaddafi died, October 20th, 2011, this writer was in Zuccotti Park. Occupy Wall Street was in full swing in the park. Oh yeah, Caleb was a part of that. He has some great footage of himself when he had his long red hair going off. Anyway. Shout out to Occupy Wall Street. Those were some dark times. That was the end of my involvement in any kind of left-wing activism that I can really say, other than reading. Did he have a mullet? I don't remember him having a mullet. Stop casting dispersions about Miss Michelle Obama in the chat. That's just, you are so nasty. You are so nasty-minded. It is not a fact. You're just being horrible. You're being horrible about her. It is not a fact. Stop with your mess. You can I am not in denial. Trust me, I know he's zesty. I know. However, his wife is a woman. Okay? Moving on. And you know what? I don't even know that he's zesty. I've heard rumors. I don't know anything about it. Oh my God. How do you know, Calvin? How do you know? Whatever. I don't trust you. You're a little, no. Okay, so okay. Despite being ideologically confused and sometimes libertarian in their perspective. Okay, hold on. I skipped ahead, sorry. The professional activists with liberal, social democratic, and anarchist perspectives, however, were not the only perspectives represented in the movement. Many young unemployed people from across the country had come to Zuccotti Park. I don't know if it's Zuccotti, I don't know. I don't remember. And I remember it being like in the news, but it's been so many years. It was known that, let's see. Okay, they had come there to protest Wall Street. Midwestern and Southern youths, despite being ideologically confused and sometimes libertarian in their perspective, understood that Gaddafi was on their side. Among the young people in Zuccotti Park, it was well known that Gaddafi had sought to create an independent African currency, an affront to the US dollar and the Federal Reserve bankers. Cynthia McKinney's documentation of the Obama administration's lies about Libya were well known far beyond the movement because of right-wing radio host Alex Jones, who had featured McKinney on his program. Shout out to Alex Jones. Forever a fan. God, I love Alex Jones. Oh, okay. Okay. Where was I? Okay. He had given her a platform that movement programs like Democracy Now! Had not. The socialist movement of the United States in the aftermath of the new communist movement of the 1970s, and most especially after the fall of the Soviet Union, has retreated from the broad masses of people. It occupies various safe spaces like academia, the labor bureaucracy, and middle-class pockets within the urban centers. It has come to see the broad masses of people as its enemy, and populism, as in attempts to mobilize the broad masses of people, as a great danger. However, the history of the socialist movement in the United States tells a very different story. The strength of Eugene Debs and the Socialist Party, the Communist Party USA, and the Black Panther Party was their ability to mobilize millions of people around a socialist program designed to improve living conditions and meet the needs of the people. Socialists did not become strong by embedding themselves among liberal activists, but by going directly to the masses and providing aid and leadership amid times of economic hardship. Leftist politics, where it had been successful in places like Libya, has always been populist in its orientation. Marx wrote about the proletariat and its struggle to seize the means of production from the bourgeoisie and organize the economy to serve public good rather than profits. The strength of communists was always their ability to organize the most downtrodden in society by emphasizing class solidarity. Communists opposed racism with the slogan "Black and white unite and fight." Communists were able to win millions of white workers to oppose Jim Crow segregation during the 1930s by explaining that racism hurt all working people and was a tool of the capitalist bosses. Communists did not speak of shaming and punishing those who held white privilege, but rather of the need to raise up all working people, giving special attention and priority to those who face the worst discrimination and hardship. Gaddafi rejected Marxism despite drawing from it and studying it throughout his life. However, the vast socialist movement he created in Libya that improved conditions for the entire country, mobilized millions into revolutionary councils and committees. Gaddafi vastly improved the status of women and dark-skinned Africans, and his revolution holds many lessons for socialists in any country. the United States included. The Green Book, presented here, is the primary ideological document written by a revolutionary who raised millions from poverty and created a prosperous socialist society. Prior to 2011, Libya was the top oil exporting country in Africa. According to the CIA World Factbook, Libya had the highest life expectancy on the continent. It had taken tremendous strides to improve living conditions, granted its people access to health care, education, and housing. The socialist state brought people into the political process with its network of popular conferences and committees, and emboldened many who had been previously downtrodden. Gaddafi is certainly worth criticizing, and many of his statements and actions could be considered problematic. But there is no doubt that he was a successful statesman and revolutionary. And there is no doubt that the society he constructed was, in fact, a socialist one. From 1969 to 2011, Libya was free from Western capitalism. It was on an independent course of development, with an economy that was centrally planned to serve public good, not profits. The Green Book presented here in the official Libyan government translation, because no copyright exists, is an important document for any serious revolutionary to study and understand. We are some serious revolutionaries in the chat. I don't know what's going on in the chat. I don't know what's going on. I'm like looking up. I know we're still in the introduction. Caleb wrote a very long introduction, I have to say. Good God. Caleb's prefacing it all for us. But hey, it is good perspective. Many people might not know things, and I've learned things reading in his introduction about, Libya that I didn't know. So if you want treasure, you got to dig sometimes, That's how it is on this channel. That's how it is in life. Gaddafi is certainly worth criticizing, and many of his statements and actions could be considered problematic. But there is no doubt that he was a successful statesman and revolutionary, and there is no doubt that the society he constructed was, in fact, a socialist one. From 1969 to 2011, Libya was free from Western capitalism. It was on an independent course of development, with an economy that was centrally planned to serve public good, not profits. The Green Book presented here in the official Libyan government translation, because no copyright exists. Oh wait, I just read all this. Okay. I'm like, oh wait, we read this. Is an important document for any serious revolutionary to study and understand. In our times, dogmatic ideological recitations are not needed, be they Marxist, Leninist, Trotskyist, Stalinist, Maoist, Hoxahist, or whatnot. I know, I don't even, I've never even really gotten into that. I'm not into all that. I don't want anything to do with it. In order to construct 21st century socialism, all great revolutionary figures should be studied. Exactly. I agree. Yeah. All attempts to get beyond capitalism should be thoroughly investigated, and none should be blindly defended or copied. This book is published in order to introduce the millions of Americans who are becoming interested in socialism to the revolutionary government of Libya that existed from 1969 to 2011. It is published to preserve the thoughts of a high-achieving individual who played a dynamic role in world politics. I mean, yeah. Yeah. The Center for Political Innovation hopes to publish many more such books, presenting the views of revolutionary figures from times past. In doing so, we hope to inspire the conversations that will lead toward new political developments in our time and point the way out of greed, fascism, and war toward a more humane and prosperous future. So that was his introduction. Let's get into the book. Is Caleb Jewish? No, he isn't. Okay. Chapter 1, the solution of the problem of democracy, the authority of the people, the instrument of government. The instrument of government is the prime political problem confronting human communities. The problem of the instrument of government entails questions of the following kind. What form should the exercise of authority assume? How ought societies to organize themselves politically in the modern world? Even conflict within the family is often the result of the failure to resolve this problem of authority. It has clearly become more serious with the emergence of modern societies. People today face this persistent question in new and pressing ways. Communities are exposed to the risks of uncertainty and suffer the grave consequences of wrong answers, yet none has succeeded in answering it conclusively and democratically. The Green Book presents the ultimate solution to the problem of the proper instrument of government. Oh my. All political systems in the world today are a product of the struggle for power between alternative instruments of government. The struggle may be peaceful or armed, as is evidenced among classes, sects, tribes, parties, or individuals. The outcome is always the victory of a particular governing structure, be it that of an individual, group, party, or class, and the defeat of the people, the defeat of genuine democracy. Political struggle that results in the victory of a candidate with, for example, 51% of the votes, leads to a dictatorial governing body in the guise of a false democracy. Between 49% of the electorate, since 49% of the electorate is ruled by an instrument of government they did not vote for, but which has been imposed upon them. Such dictatorship, besides, this political conflict may produce a governing body that represents only a minority. For when votes are distributed among several candidates, though one polls more than any other, the sum of the votes received by those who received fewer votes might well constitute an overwhelming majority. However, the candidate with fewer votes wins, and his success is regarded as legitimate and democratic. In actual fact, dictatorship is established under the cover of false democracy. This is the reality of a political system prevailing in the world today. They are dictatorial systems, and it is evident that they falsify genuine democracy. Y'all need to stop. I don't appreciate that. Calvin. Parliaments. Parliaments are the backbone of that conventional democracy prevailing in the world today. Parliament is a misrepresentation of the people, and parliamentary systems are a false solution to the problem of democracy. A parliament is originally founded to represent the people, but this in itself is undemocratic, as democracy means the authority of the people and not an authority acting on their behalf. The mere existence of a parliament means the absence of the people. True democracy exists only through the direct participation of the people, and not through the activity of their representatives. Parliaments have been a legal barrier between the people and the exercise of authority, excluding the masses from meaningful politics and monopolizing sovereignty in their place. People are left with only a facade of democracy, manifested in long queues to cast their election ballots. To lay bare the character of parliaments, one has to examine their origin. They are either elected from constituencies, a party or a coalition of parties, or are appointed. But all of these procedures are undemocratic, for dividing the population into constituencies means that one member of parliament represents thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions of people, depending on the size of the population. It also means that a member keeps a few popular organizational links with the electors, since he, like other members, is considered a representative of the whole people. This is what the prevailing traditional democracy requires. The masses are completely isolated from the representative, and he, in turn, is totally removed from them. Immediately after winning the electors' votes, the representative takes over the people's sovereignty and acts on their behalf. The prevailing traditional democracy endows the member of parliament with a sacredness and immunity which are denied to the rest of the people. Parliaments, therefore, have become a means of plundering and usurping the authority of the people. It has thus become the right of the people to struggle through popular revolution to destroy such instruments. The so-called parliamentary assemblies which usurp democracy and sovereignty and which stifle the will of the people. The masses have the right to proclaim reverberantly the new principle, no representation in lieu of the people. If Parliament is formed from one party as a result of its winning an election, it becomes a parliament of the winning party and not of the people. It represents the party and not the people, and the executive power of the Parliament becomes that of the victorious party and not of the people. The same is true of the member of Parliament. The same is true of the Parliament of proportional representation, in which each party holds a number of seats proportional to their success with the popular vote. The members of the Parliament represent their respective parties and not the people. And the power established by such a coalition is the power of the combined parties and not that of the people. It represents the party and not the people, and the executive power of the Parliament becomes that of the victorious party and not of the people. The same is true of the Parliament of proportional representation, in which each party holds a number of seats proportional to their success in the popular vote. Is Golden TV? I have Golden blocked. Hi, Golden. I'm up past my bedtime, y'all. I need a little break, okay? I haven't had any water in a while. I need to, have a little water. I'm noticing a little bit of okay. Not blocked enough. I know, it's interesting how that works. Well, hi, Golden. I'm glad you're here. I have you blocked. I don't remember exactly what you did, but you probably were taking me off. Yeah, pulling my pigtails as usual. What's in my mug toasted up? I don't know if there's any left. There's a little water. Water. Any water drinkers in the house? Anyone drink water? Ow. Oh, y'all. I'm kind of stiff. I'm feeling it. It was a tough day. Okay. Back to the reading. The members of the parliament represent their respective parties and not the people, and the power established by such a coalition is the power of the combined parties and not that of the people. This is a little repetitive. Okay, thank you. Delighted to be here. Nice to have you here. Oh, excuse me again, y'all. We're going to keep going a little bit longer. I'll probably go till 10 something tonight and then pack it in. Unless it gets good, we'll see. If he keeps going on about they're this and not of the people and not this and not of the people, like, God. Under such system, the people are the victims whose votes are vied for by exploitative competing factions who dupe the people into political circuses that are outwardly noisy and frantic, but inwardly powerless and irrelevant. Alternatively, the people are seduced into standing in long, apathetic, silent queues to cast their ballots in the same way that they throw waste paper into dustbins. This is the traditional democracy prevalent in the whole world, whether it is represented by a one-party, two-party, multi-party, or non-party system. Thus, it is clear that representation is a fraud. Moreover, since the system of elected parliaments is based on propaganda to win votes, it is a demagogic system in the real sense of the word. Votes can be bought and falsified. Poor people are unable to compete in the election campaigns, and the result is that only the rich get elected. Assemblies constituted by appointment or hereditary succession do not fall under any form of democracy. Philosophers, thinkers, and writers advocated the theory of representative parliaments at a time when peoples were unconsciously herded like sheep by kings, sultans, and conquerors. The ultimate aspiration of the people of those times was to have someone to represent them before such rulers. When even this aspiration was rejected, people waged bitter and protracted struggle to attain this goal. After the successful establishment of the age of the republics and the beginning of the era of the masses, it is unthinkable that democracy should mean the electing of only a few representatives to act on behalf of great masses. Taylor's, don't say that about Taylor. Oh, God. They're so mean to her just because she's Aryan. She can't help that she's Aryan, you guys. She's a very lovely girl. She has some really nice songs, and she's not overly sexual, which I appreciate in her music. You know, it's not graphic or, you know, it's suitable for younger women. It doesn't go there. You know, it can suggest a little, but it's not raunchy. I appreciate that about her as a modern, like, pop singer. And she's got some bangers. Like, leave her alone. Why don't people respect her? I get that she's problematic and, like, you know, possibly Illuminati, you know. But what is she grooming them for, Cecil? She's the snow queen. Oh, goodness. Indeed, indeed. You know, she's doing her best representing. Yoda, that's nasty. To be bitter, vicious like her. No, don't say that. No, so many girls love her. What? Oh my goodness. Is it okay? I'm not familiar with the work of Sexy Red at all. That sounds, a woman wrote that? A woman wrote that. No, she's got some bangers, Cecil. I do not, she is not horrible. She's got some bangers. I put that on and I'm like, oh yeah, I know how that feels. She's everything wrong that's wrong with American women today. That is, you can't say that about her. No, she's not everything wrong. No, there's many wrongs that she does not commit. There are many wrongs that Taylor does not commit. And you know what? She's lovely. I don't know. Y'all, I used to judge her, but now I realize she wasn't. Why was I casting all of that on her? Like, why was I putting all of that stuff in me onto her? Feminist Democrat attacks men. Well, sometimes she's, hey, to be a woman in her position, she gets messed with. Acts like a child when she's 34. Yeah, she does do that a bit. That's kind of hard. I mean, I do that too sometimes. Don't you act like a child sometimes, Cecil? Getting down with pop music. I like pop music a bit. I mean, I don't know, Taylor Swift. Like, I give people a chance. I gave Taylor Swift a chance, and you know what? She surprised me. She surprised me. I was like, you know what? She's got depth. I could enjoy some of her music. I don't know. Y'all are not. I don't need to be taken away from this book to defend Taylor Swift right now. My feelings about Taylor Swift have been known. I'm done. I've said my piece. You all can say whatever you like about her. I don't care. Okay. I'm trying to figure out where I was. Okay. The most tyrannical dictatorships the world has known have existed under the aegis of parliaments. The party is a contemporary form of dictatorship. It is the modern instrument of dictatorial government. The party is the rule of a part over the whole. As a party is not an individual, it creates a superficial democracy by establishing assemblies, committees, and propaganda through its members. The party is not a democratic instrument because it is composed only of those people who have common interests, a common perception or a shared culture, or those who belong to the same region or share the same belief. They form a party to achieve their ends, impose their will, or extend the dominion of their beliefs, values, and interests to the society as a whole. A party aim is to achieve power under the pretext of carrying out its program. Democratically, none of these parties should govern a whole people who constitute a diversity of interests, ideas, temperaments, regions, and beliefs. The party is a dictatorial instrument of government that enables those with common outlooks or interests to rule the people as a whole. Within the community, the party represents a minority. The purpose of forming a party is to create an instrument to rule the people, as in to rule over the non-members of the party. The party is fundamentally based on an arbitrary authoritarian concept, the domination of the members of the party over the rest of the people. The party presupposes that its accession to power is the way to attain its ends, and assumes that its objectives are also those of the people. This is the theory justifying party dictatorship and is the basis of any dictatorship. No matter how many parties exist, the theory remains valid. The existence of many parties intensifies the struggle for power, and this results in the neglect of any achievements for the people and of any socially beneficial plans. Such actions are presented as a justification to undermine the position of the ruling party so that an opposing party can replace it. The parties very seldom resort to arms in their struggle, but rather denounce and denigrate the actions of each other. This is a battle which is inevitably waged at the expense of the higher vital interests of the society. Some, if not all of those higher interests, will fall prey to the struggle for power between instruments of government. For the destruction of those interests supports the opposition in their argument against the ruling party or parties. In order to rule, the opposition party has to defeat the existing instrument of government. Okay, that's funny, Yoda. That was funny. Yoda being a little racist. Isn't that nice? To the sound of no. Apparently, Yoda is also a Swiftie. How wonderful. Thank you to Jonathan Foster. He says, thanks for reading the Green Book. And thank you for donating to the Terri Strange channel. Now you're KO'd on the cold, cold ground. Oh, oh, Negro. Did you like my Taylor? I don't know if she would appreciate that. Hopefully that doesn't get clipped. Don't clip that, y'all. I don't like that word. When white people say it, I get uncomfortable. You know, when I hear people say it, I'm like, ugh. It's too close. It's too close to the other N-word. It's not modern and sophisticated sounding. I'm like, oh no, don't say that word. Well, anyway. Okay, the existence of many parties intensifies the struggle for power, and this results in the neglect of any achievements for the people and of any socially beneficial plans. Such actions are presented as a justification to undermine the position of the ruling party so that an opposing party can replace it. The parties very seldom resort to arms in their struggle, but rather denounce and denigrate the actions of each other. This is a battle which is inevitably waged at the expense of the higher vital interests of the society. Some, if not all of those higher interests, will fall prey to the struggle for power between instruments of government. For the destruction of those interests supports the opposition in their argument against the ruling party or parties. In order to rule, the opposition party has to defeat the existing instrument of government. To do so, the opposition must minimize the government's achievements and cast doubt on its plans, even though those plans may be beneficial to society. Consequently, the interests and programs of the society become victims of the party's struggle for power. Such struggle is therefore politically, socially, and economically destructive to the society, despite the fact that it creates political activity. Thus, the struggle results in the victory of another instrument of government, the fall of one party, and the rise of another. It is, in fact, a defeat for the people, as in a defeat for democracy. Furthermore, parties can be bribed and corrupted either from inside or outside. Originally, the party is formed ostensibly to represent the people. Subsequently, the party leadership becomes representative of the membership, and the leader represents the party elite. It becomes clear that this partisan game is a deceitful farce based on the false form of democracy. It has a selfish authoritarian character based on maneuvers, intrigues, and political games. This confirms the fact that the party system is a modern instrument of dictatorship. The party system is an outright, unconvincing dictatorship, one which the world has not yet surpassed. It is, in fact, the dictatorship of the modern age. Ain't that the truth? Y'all. Like Elmer Fudd. Yeah, well, yeah, I'm gonna need some of the I'm gonna need the white nationalists in chat, the racists and Jew haters to dig into their pockets for that one. But shout out to Maina. She's a channel member. You guys can become a channel member too. Check it out. Well, we're doing one book at a time. One book at a time. The parliament of the winning party is indeed a parliament of the party, for the executive power formed by this parliament is the power of the party over the people. Party power, which is supposedly for the good of the whole people, is actually the archenemy of a fraction of the people, namely the opposition party or parties and their supporters. The opposition is therefore not a popular check on the ruling party, but rather is itself opportunistically seeking to replace the ruling party. According to modern democracy, the legitimate check on the ruling party is the parliament, the majority of whose members are from that ruling party. That is to say, control is in the hands of the ruling party, and power is in the hands of the controlling party. Thus, the deception, falseness, and invalidity of the political theories dominant in the world today become obvious. From these emerge contemporary conventional democracy. The party represents a segment of the people, but the sovereignty of the people is indivisible. What kind of muffler was that? Somebody writing something loud. Excuse me. I haven't put up a banner. I should put up a banner. Let me get to the end of this section, and then I'm going to put up a banner. The party allegedly governs on behalf of the people, but in reality, the true principle of democracy is based upon the notion that there can be no representation in lieu of the people. The party system is the modern equivalent of the tribal or sectarian system. A society governed by one party is similar to one which is governed by one tribe or one sect. The party, as shown, represents the perception of a certain group of people, or the interests of one group in society, or one belief, or one region. Such a party is a minority compared with the whole people, just as the tribe and the sect are. The minority has narrow, common sectarian interests and beliefs, from which a common outlook is formed. Only the blood relationship distinguishes a tribe from a party, and indeed, a tribe might also be the basis for the foundation of a party. Indeed. There is no difference between party struggle and tribal or sectarian struggles for power, just as tribal and sectarian rule is politically unacceptable and inappropriate. Likewise, the rule under a party system. Both follow the same path and lead to the same end. The negative and destructive effects of the tribal or sectarian struggle on society is identical to the negative and destructive effects on the party struggle, or of the party struggle, excuse me. You all are being very nasty, and I don't appreciate it. I'm typing with one hand. There we go. Oh, oops. There we go. I like that. I like having a little banner. It's fun. Ominous clicking. Yes, I like that better. I like having the little. The political class system. Okay, so class is the next section. The political class system is the same as a party, tribal, or sectarian system, since a class dominates society in the same way that a party, tribe, or sect would. Classes, like parties, sects, or tribes, are groups of people within society who share common interests. Common interests arise from the existence of a group of people bound together by blood relationship, belief, culture, locality, or standard of living. Classes, parties, sects, and tribes emerge because blood relationship, social rank, economic interest, standard of living, belief, culture, and locality create a common outlook to achieve a common end. Thus, social structures in the form of classes, parties, tribes, or sects emerge. These eventually develop into political entities directed toward the realization of the goals of that group. In all cases, the people are neither the class, the party, the tribe, nor the sect, for these are no more than a segment of the people and constitute a minority. If a class, a party, a tribe, or a sect dominates society, then the dominant system becomes a dictatorship. However, a class or tribal coalition is preferable to a party coalition, since societies originally consisted of tribal communities. One seldom finds a group of people who do not belong to a tribe, and all people belong to a specific class, but no party or parties embrace all of the people, and therefore the party or party coalition represents a minority compared to the masses outside their membership. Under genuine democracy, there can be no justification for any one class to subdue other classes for its interests. Similarly, no party, tribe, or sect can crush others for their own interests. To allow such actions abandons the logic of democracy and justifies resort to the use of force. Such policies of suppression are dictatorial because they are not in the interests of the whole society, which consists of more than one class, tribe, or sect, or the members of one party. There is no justification for such actions, though the dictatorial argument is that society. Who are these animals driving that way? I guess it is Friday. Men get all like loud with their cars going vroom vroom. I'm so macho. Good night, Seesaw. Hello, Galahad. Oh. I don't like that. I don't like when they like rev and stuff. I find it like, ugh. Indeed, it wasn't, Calvin. Indeed, it wasn't. I've met a couple that had, but they didn't even have anything like that, like as their motorcycle thing. I don't know. A society torn apart by party feud is similar to one which is torn apart by tribal or sectarian conflicts. A party that is formed in the name of a class inevitably becomes a substitute for that class and continues in the process of spontaneous transformation until it becomes hostile to the class that it replaces. Any class which inherits a society also inherits its characteristics. If the working class, for example, subdues all other classes of a particular society, it then becomes its only heir and forms its material and social base. The heir acquires the traits of those from whom it inherits, though this may not be evident all at once. With the passage of time, characteristics of the other eliminated classes will emerge within the ranks of the working class itself. The members of the new society will assume the attitudes and perspectives appropriate to their newly evolved characteristics. Thus, the working class will develop a separate society, possessing all of the contradictions of the old society. In the first stage, the material standard and importance of the members become unequal. Thereafter, groups emerge which automatically become classes that are the same as the classes that were eliminated. Thus, the struggle for domination of the society begins again. Each group of people, each fraction, and each new class will all vie to become an instrument of government. Being social in nature, the material base of any society is changeable. The instrument of government of this material base may be sustained for some time, but it will eventually become obsolete as new material and social standards evolve to form a new material base. Any society which undergoes a class conflict may at one time have been a one-class society, but through evolution inevitably becomes a multi-class society. The class that expropriates and acquires the possession of others to maintain power for itself will soon find that through evolution, it will be itself subject to change as though it were the society as a whole. In summary, all attempts at unifying the material base of a society in order to solve the problem of government, or at putting an end to the struggle in favor of a party, class, sect, or tribe have failed. All endeavors aimed at appeasing the masses through the election of representatives or through parliaments have equally failed. To continue such practices would be a waste of time and a mockery of the people. If it was Putin, it would be a different story. Don't talk about my crush on Putin. I'd really rather not get into that too much. It's a distraction. Indeed, I would, Kelvin. Oh dear, Mena. Obviously, I would have to go out there and ask them to stop. Plebiscites. Plebiscites are a fraud. What is this word? Plebiscites? Plebiscites? Those who vote yes or no do not, in fact, express their free will, but rather are silenced by the modern conception of democracy, as they are not allowed to say more than yes or no. Such a system is oppressive and tyrannical. Those who vote no should express their reasons and why they did not say yes, and those who say yes should verify such agreement as why they did not vote no. Both should state their wishes and be able to justify their yes or no vote. What then is the path to be taken by humanity in order to conclusively rid itself of the elements of dictatorship and tyranny? The intricate problem in the case of democracy is reflected in the nature of the instrument of government, which is demonstrated by conflicts of classes, parties, and individuals. The elections and plebiscites, again, I'm not familiar with this word. You all are being inappropriate. Stop. stop. The solution lies in finding an instrument of government other than those which are used to which are subject to conflict and which represent only one faction of society. That is to say, an instrument of government which is not a party, class, sect, or tribe, but an instrument of government which is the people as a whole. In other words, we seek an instrument of government which neither represents the people nor speaks in their name. There can be no representation in lieu of the people, and representation is a fraud. If such an instrument can be found, then the problem is solved and true popular democracy is realized. Thus, humankind would have terminated the eras of tyranny and dictatorships and replaced them with the authority of the people. The Green Book represents the ultimate solution to the problem of the instrument of government, and indicates for the masses the path upon which they can advance from the age of dictatorship to that of genuine democracy. You like the red-tipped ends of my hair? I think that's just the way the light catches it. My hair is a bit reddish. It's like it catches red in some lights. Like it has a kind of tone to it. I don't know how to describe it. It's dark, but it also has that kind of quality to it that it catches red, and it can look light in some pictures. You know, from plebeian, plebiscite. Yeah, so was Hitler. Okay, and you want me to read that? Exactly, Calvin. You know what's up. I got a little bit of that. It's just a bit of that. Hello, Bond. Nice to see you. Let's continue. Okay. There can be no representation in lieu of the people, and representation is fraud. If such an instrument can be found, then the problem is solved and true popular democracy is realized. Thus, humankind would have terminated the eras of tyranny and dictatorships and replaced them with the authority of the people. The Green Book presents the ultimate solution to the problem of the instrument of government and indicates for the masses the path upon which they can advance from the age of dictatorship to that of genuine democracy. This new theory is based on the authority of the people without representation or deputation. It achieves direct democracy in an orderly and effective form. It is superior to the older attempts at direct democracy, which were impractical because they lacked popular organizations at base levels. Popular conferences and people's committees. Popular conferences are the only means to achieve popular democracy. Any system of government contrary to this method, the method of popular conferences, is undemocratic. All the prevailing systems of government in the world today will remain undemocratic unless they adopt this method. Popular conferences are the end of the journey of the masses in quest of democracy. Popular conferences and people's committees are the fruition of the people's struggle for democracy. People's conferences and people's committees are not creations of the imagination. They are the product of thought which has absorbed all human experiments to achieve democracy. Direct democracy, if put into practice, is indisputably the ideal method of government because it is impossible to gather all people, however small the population, in one place, so that they can discuss, discern, and decide policies. Nations departed from direct democracy, which became a utopian idea detached from reality. It was replaced by various theories of government, such as representative councils, party coalitions, and plebiscites, all of which isolated the masses and prevented them from managing their political affairs. These instruments of government, the individual, the class, the sect, the tribe, the parliament, and the party struggling to achieve power, have plundered the sovereignty of the masses and monopolized politics and authority for themselves. The Green Book guides the masses to an unprecedented practical system of direct democracy. No two intelligent people can dispute the fact that direct democracy is the ideal, but until now, no practical method for its implementation has been devised. The third universal theory, however, now provides us with a practical approach to direct democracy. The problem of democracy in the world will finally be solved. All that is left before the masses now is a struggle to eliminate all prevailing forms of dictatorial governments, be they parliament, sect, tribe, class, one-party system, two-party system, or multi-party system, which falsely call end of the journey of the masses in quest of democracy. Popular conferences and people's committees are the fruition of the people's struggle for democracy. Popular conferences and people's committees are not the creations of the imagination. They are the product of thought which has absorbed all human experiments to achieve democracy, direct democracy. If put into practice, it is indisputably the ideal method of government, because it is impossible to gather all people, however small the population, in one place so that they can discuss, discern, and decide policies. Nations departed from direct democracy, which became a utopian idea detached from reality. It was replaced by various theories of government, such as representative councils, party coalitions, and plebiscites, all of which isolated the masses and prevented them from managing their political affairs. These instruments of government, the individual, the class, the sect, the tribe, the parliament, and the party, struggling to achieve power, have plundered the sovereignty of the masses and monopolized politics and authority for themselves. The Green Book guides the masses to an unprecedented practical system of direct democracy. No two intelligent people can dispute the fact that direct democracy is the ideal, but until now, no practical method for its implementation. I feel like I've already read this. Have I already read this? I'm just going to keep going. Heim or Feldman? Are you talking about the Corys? I mean, I guess Feldman. I don't know. Yeah, I think I lived too. I've done it a couple of times. This book is kind of repetitive, and it's not the easiest to read. Yeah, well, hi, Dijon Pa. And I mean, and there's a lot of repeating stuff in it as well. So, okay, I'm just going to push on. The third universal theory, however, now provides us with a practical approach to direct democracy. The problem of democracy in the world will finally be solved. All that is left for the masses now is a struggle to eliminate all prevailing forms of dictatorial governments, be they parliament, sect, tribe, class, one-party system, two-party system, or multi-party system, which falsely call themselves democracies. True democracy has but one method and one theory. The dissimilarity and diversity of the systems claiming to be democratic do, in fact, provide evidence that they are not so. Authority of the people has but one face, which can only be realized through popular conferences and people's committees. There can be no democracy without popular conferences and committees everywhere. First, the people are divided into basic popular conferences. Each basic popular conferences choose their secretariat. The secretariats of the popular conferences are together form non-basic popular conferences. Subsequently, the masses of the basic popular conferences select administrative people's committees to replace government administration. All public institutions are run by people's committees, which will be accountable to the basic popular conferences, which dictate the policy and supervise its execution. Thus, both the administration and the supervision become the people's end. The outdated definition of democracy is the supervision of the government by the people, becomes obsolete. It will be replaced by the true definition. Democracy is the supervision of the people by the people. All citizens who are members of these popular conferences belong vocationally and functionally to various sectors and have therefore to form themselves into their own professional popular conferences. In addition to being, by virtue of citizenship, members of the basic popular conferences or people's committees, subjects dealt with by the popular conferences and public committees will eventually take their final shape in the General People's Congress, which brings together the secretariats of the popular conferences and people's committees. Resolutions of the General People's Congress, which meets annually or periodically, are passed on to the popular conferences and people's committees, which undertake the execution of those resolutions through the responsible committees, which are in turn accountable to the basic popular conferences. Isn't this interesting? Do I have water? I do have a little left. I do need a sip. Josh is Josh. What do you mean? Ugh. I didn't know Josh had blocked me. JS Adventures? Is that the Josh you're referring to? Sometimes I do, Caleb. It depends on the day. It's past 10, isn't it? You went away, streamed, and came back, and I'm still going. Caleb, no, don't embarrass me. Yeah, that was a crazy stream. Hey. Well, I'm going to wrap it up soon here. Let me see. Yeah, this chapter goes on. I was like, oh, maybe I'll make it through chapter 1, but I don't think that's at all possible tonight. This looks a bit long. So I'm just going to have to I think I'll stop here at the Law of Society and kind of wrap it up. But yeah. He's like, great, keep it going. Yeah. We'll see. Yeah, I do think, though, I don't want to stay up too late tonight. I am a bit tired. I had a long day. So it took a lot of strength to get on here and do my thing and just, press on. Okay. The General People's Congress is not a gathering of persons or members such as those of parliaments, but rather a gathering of the popular conferences and people's committees. Thus, the problem of the instrument of government is naturally solved, and all dictatorial instruments disappear. The people become the instrument of the government, and the dilemma of democracy in the world is conclusively solved. The law of society. Law represents the other problem, parallel to that of the instrument of government, which has not been resolved. Although it was dealt with in different periods of history, the problem still persists today. For a committee or an assembly to be empowered to draft the law of society is both invalid and undemocratic. It is also invalid and undemocratic for the law of society to be abrogated or amended by an individual, a committee, or an assembly. What then is the law of society? Who drafts it, and what is its relevance to democracy? The natural law of any society is grounded in either tradition, custom, or religion. Any other attempt to draft law outside these two sources is invalid and illogical. Constitutions cannot be considered the law of society. A constitution is fundamentally a man-made positive law, and it lacks the natural source from which it must derive its justification. The problem of freedom in the modern age is that constitutions have become the law of societies. These constitutions are based solely on the premises of the instruments of dictatorial rule prevailing in the world today, ranging from the individual to the party. Proof of this are the differences existing in various constitutions. Although human freedom is one and the same, the reason for the differences is the variation in the assumptions and values implicit in diverse instruments of government. This is how freedom becomes vulnerable under contemporary forms of government. The method by which a specific modality of government seeks to dominate the people is contained in the Constitution. The people are compelled to accept it by virtue of the laws derived from that Constitution, which is itself the product of the tendencies within particular instruments of governments. The laws of the dictatorial instruments of government have replaced the natural laws, as in positive law has replaced natural law. Consequently, ethical standards have become confused. The human being is essentially, physically, and emotionally the same everywhere. Because of this fact, natural laws are applicable to all. However, constitutions as conventional laws do not perceive human beings equally. This view has no justification except for the fact that it reflects the will of the instrument of government, be it an individual, an assembly, a class, or a party. This is why constitutions change when an alteration in the instruments of government takes place, indicating that a constitution is not natural law, but reflects the drive of the instrument of government to serve its own purpose. You know I love my jar. You know I gotta sip out of my mason jar. Yeah, you like it? I'm liking it too, Samuel. It's good. It's good stuff. This chat, indeed. Dirty minds. Dirty minds. I don't know what to do. And now I've lost my spot again. This book, I tell you, I'm like, oh, I keep losing my spot. I need to come up with a system to not lose my spot. Okay. The laws of the dictatorial instruments of government have replaced the natural laws, as in positive law has replaced natural law. Consequently, ethical standards have become confused. The human being is essentially, physically, and emotionally the same everywhere. Because of this fact, natural laws are applicable to all. However, constitutions as conventional laws do not perceive human beings equally. This view has no justification. That's true. That was true. Yeah. Trump did say that to Caleb. I was like, that's my friend. I was like, oh, yeah. That was great. It was a good shout out. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure you ask him much more interesting questions than, the average, journalist he has to interact with. Go to Caleb's channel, do some digging, y'all. Goodness. I told you, go to his channel, subscribe, get stuck in. It's full of good stuff. Mina. The abrogation of natural laws from human societies and their replacement by conventional laws is the fundamental danger that threatens freedom. Any ruling system must be made subservient to natural laws, not the reverse. The fundamental law of society must not be subject to historical drafting or composition. Its importance lies in being the decisive criterion in the light of which truth and falsehood, right and wrong, and individual rights and duties can be judged. Freedom is threatened unless society adheres to a sacred law with established rules that are not subject to alteration or change by any instrument of government. It is rather the responsibility of the instrument of government to adhere to the laws of society. Unfortunately, people the world over are currently ruled by man-made laws that can be changed or abrogated, depending upon the struggle for power among competing forms of government. Conducting plebiscites on constitutions is often insufficient. Plebiscites are essentially a counterfeit of democracy, since a yes or no is the only option. Moreover, under man-made law, people are compelled to vote on these plebiscites. Again, I'm not familiar with this term. Maybe I should look it up. Conducting a plebiscite on a constitution does not necessarily make the constitution the law of society. In other words, the status of a constitution will not be altered by a plebiscite. It will remain no more the subject of a plebiscite. I'm looking it up, y'all. It's getting on my nerves. Little Miss Perfect's Caitlin Clark on my phone again. I'm not jealous. It's fine. Okay, plebiscite. Plebiscite? How do I say this? A vote by the people of an entire country or district to decide on some issue, such as a choice of a ruler or government, option for independence or annexation by another power, or a question of national policy. Okay. How's it pronounced? Dang, they go off about this word. I don't need to know all that. I understand what it means, but how do I pronounce it? Plebiscite. Okay, plebiscite. Okay, plebiscite. You got banned on Hake, Mina? Dang. What did you do? Were you being nasty? Okay. Okay, let's see. The law of society is an eternal human heritage that does not belong only to the living. Therefore, drafting a constitution or conducting a plebiscite on it is a mockery. The catalogs of man-made laws emanating from man-made constitutions are fraught with physical penalties directed against human beings, while tradition contains few such measures. Tradition lays down moral, non-physical penalties that conform to the intrinsic nature of humanity. Religion contains tradition and absorbs it, and tradition is a manifestation of the natural life of people. Its teachings comprise basic social guidelines and answers to the fundamental questions of existence. Most physical penalties are deferred to a future judgment. This is the most appropriate law, affording due respect to the human being. Again, my throat has been bugging me. Well, Maina, there's a proper order to do things in, and I'm not in any position to be conducting that kind of arrangement or behavior with anyone. So, alas. But it's nice to hear that you're wanting that for me. That's, But again, all in its proper time and place. Not here, not now. This isn't, that time or place. Most physical penalties are deferred to a future judgment. This is the most appropriate law, affording due respect to the human being. Religion does not provide for prompt penalties, save in certain compelling instances necessary to the well-being of society. Religion contains tradition, and tradition is an expression of the natural life of the people. Therefore, religion is an affirmation of natural laws which are discerned therein. Laws which are not premised on religion and tradition are merely an invention by man to be used against his fellow man. Consequently, such laws are invalid because they do not emanate from the natural source of tradition and religion. Who supervises the conduct of society? The question arises, who has the right to supervise society and point out deviations that may occur from the laws of society? Democratically, no one group can claim this right on behalf of society. Therefore, society alone supervises itself. It is dictatorial for any individual or group to claim the right of the supervision of the laws of the society, which is democratically the responsibility of the society as a whole. This can be arrived at through the democratic instrument of government that results from the organization of the society itself into basic popular conferences, and through the government of these people through people's committees and the General People's Congress, the National Congress, where secretariats of the popular conferences and the people's committees convene. In accordance with this theory, the people become the instrument of government and in turn become their own supervisors. Society thus secures self-supervision over its laws. Well, you guys, I think that's where I'd like to wrap up for the evening. It's been fun, but I am a bit, I think, done. And so is my cat. You hear him. I know you guys hear him. He just walked by a moment ago as I was starting this little section, gave me a little look like he was going to go walk down and meow at the end of the hall. And thus he did. So here we are. I hate y'all. I hate y'all so much. That is so wrong. Yeah, my throat is a bit, I think I need some water and get to bed. But yeah, I'm wrapping it up. Hey, don't you be talking to me that way. Don't you be accusing me like that. I'm wrapping it up. I'm getting it together. I know. I'm wrapping it up. I'm wrapping it up. I'm saying goodnight. We're saying goodnight. Did you hear him? Isn't it pitiful? I mean, how can you not? Disciplining my cat. Were you disciplined? Did I discipline you? I don't discipline him. I couldn't discipline him if I wanted. We have dramatic interludes where he gets loud and I get loud back, and then he runs to me, and then we do our little thing. Yeah, we have our little rituals that we do. He's okay. He just wants me to wrap it up and go to bed because it's past my bedtime and he knows these things. So you guys, I hope you have a good night. Thanks for joining me. We'll pick up on this again. I'll probably tune in again sometime this weekend. I don't know. I'm thinking probably tomorrow if I do. So, check for that. It'll probably be earlier in the day just because it's a Saturday. But I don't know. I'm also going to be doing some stuff tomorrow. So we'll see. What was that? What was that? Can you believe this? You look nice. Look at that fur. Look how that fur looks on that. Look at that shiny fur. Look at how nice that looks. Don't he look luxurious? Ooh. Don't he look fine? Don't you look fine? Yes, you do. Thank you. Yeah, and my filming is a bit better. Isn't he great? Isn't he the best thing you ever seen? Isn't he the best kitty? Who the best kitty? Who the best kitty? So cute. Are you cute? You're pretty cute. You all right. You're pretty good looking. Yeah. Pretty good looking cat. Pretty nice fur. You got this wee little meow. I'm very lucky I have one that talks, huh? You're kicking up a little fur, aren't you? You've been kicking up some fur. Are you a Chad? Yeah, you are a Chad. That's right. We concur. He really is. He's so cool. Are you? Yeah, you Chad? Yeah. I took this online quiz about what kind of Wojak are you? And I came out as a yes, Chad. I was surprised. I didn't think it would happen. Most of my friends got I don't remember what is that guy? The guy with the glasses? I don't know, but I was the yes, Chad. So I guess it makes sense that he would be too. But anyway, yeah. Soy Jack. Yeah, that's Soy Jack. Oh, the Soy Jacks. He is an alpha cat, I have to say. He's so cool. He ran out into the hallway this morning. That was fun. I tricked him though. I went out and got my pumpkin cream cold brew, y'all. I wasn't gonna let his little interlude keep me from getting myself together early this morning. I got up when the alarm went off. I didn't mess around today. Yesterday was bad. Yesterday I was my alarm went off and I kind of laid there, and then when I got up, I didn't think I'd been in my bed that long. It was 6:30. I was like, what the heck? Okay. I don't know if I fell back asleep or what, but yeah, that didn't happen this morning. We got up when the alarm went off. I got about my business, but yeah, he ran out into the hallway. He was feeling very adventurous today. Actually, he was adventurous all day. He wasn't keeping his normal routine. So we switched everything up, I guess. I think he's going to be sleepy tonight, though, just given the fact that he wasn't sleeping at his normal times. Anyway, interesting things about cats, huh, y'all? Great companions, great little friends. and I'm glad you all appreciate him. But yeah, thank you for tuning in. I'll see you again sometime this weekend to continue this book and discuss it further. So thanks for being here, and good night.